My dance partner was looking for someone who'd never show up to watch him perform. Julio danced like a baby giraffe learning to walk, yet here he was in our advanced salsa class full of competitive dancers. He stepped on feet, spun the wrong direction, and bumped into everyone. While he was unfairly gorgeous, all that magic faded once the music started. Everyone was getting frustrated, groaning every time they got paired with him. Even our instructor Griselda gently suggested, "Wouldn't you feel more comfortable in the beginner class?" But Julio just smiled and insisted he needed to be in this exact class. Why would someone subject themselves to this kind of embarrassment week after week? When Griselda finally paired me with him, I was expecting disaster. Instead, I got charmed. He was funny and self-deprecating, but when I asked why he kept coming back, he just said he had his reasons and changed the subject. The one thing I liked the most was how hardworking he was. He'd show up 30 minutes early to practice alone in front of the mirror, and I'd watch him from the hallway as he counted steps and muttered to himself. But then one week, Julio just didn't show up. The class felt weirdly empty without his chaotic energy. Even the people who complained about him asked Griselda when he'd be back. He came in the following day with a bandage wrapped around his foot. "I stubbed my toe practicing at home," he said, embarrassed. I couldn't help but laugh. After class, I offered to help him practice. "You don't have to do that," he said, but I insisted. However, something felt off. During our practice, he mentioned phrases like Cuban motion and contra body movement. All these technical terms a beginner at dancing shouldn't even know existed. When he made mistakes, he could perfectly describe what adjustments he needed to make, but just couldn't get his body to cooperate. He even corrected my movements, telling me to rock a bit more on the ball of my foot. It was all too suspicious for me to ignore. "How would you even know all this?" I asked him after our practice. He looked startled and mumbled, "I've been watching a lot of videos of salsa, just salsa videos all day." He laughed awkwardly, but I didn't believe him. The next week, Griselda announced we'd be learning a special routine for the studio's annual showcase. The moment the music started, Julio went completely white. He froze in place while everyone else began moving, just staring at this one empty corner of the studio mirror. When he finally started dancing, he was even worse than usual, stumbling through moves he'd actually been improving on. After class, I found him in the parking lot hunched over his phone, watching what looked like a competition video of the same routine. "Are you okay?" I asked gently. He looked up at me with so much pain in his eyes. "I can't do this routine," he said quietly. "We can practice it together," I offered, but he refused. "Look, I get that you're really nice, but I don't need your pity," he said, his voice growing colder. "This entire thing was a mistake. All I ever did was let her down. Why couldn't it have been me instead?" "Who's her?" I asked softly. Julio paused the video on his phone, his shoulders shaking as he broke down. "My wife Laura, who passed away 18 months ago." He began spilling everything. Laura was a semi-professional salsa dancer who taught this exact class 2 years ago, until cancer took dancing away from her forever. "This routine," he said, holding up his phone, "she choreographed it from her hospital bed, kept saying it would bring the house down at the showcase." His voice cracked. "She never got to perform it." That's when everything seemed to click. All the suspicious things from before suddenly made perfect sense. "So that's why you're here," I said, wrapping my arms around him. "All this time, it was for her." He nodded. "When she was dying, I promised I'd learn her routine. But every Thursday I come here and I see her everywhere. In the mirrors, in that corner where I used to stand with my camera filming every beautiful dance." He wiped away the tears in his eyes. "But I'm a failure. I couldn't save her. I couldn't even dance with her when she was alive. And now I can't even get her routine right. I always thought we'd have more time." He fell silent, completely defeated. I tugged at his arm, trying to drag him back to the studio. "You have time now. Finish what you started. Do it well, do it badly. I don't care. Just do it," I said, fighting back my own tears. Back in the studio, Julio stood frozen in Laura's spot. "I can't," he whispered. "Yes, you can," I said, finding the song on my phone. "Show me her routine." The music filled the empty studio. For a moment, nothing. Then Julio started moving, and something extraordinary happened. Every step he'd fumbled for months suddenly flowed perfectly. His body remembered what his grief had been blocking. Tears streamed down his face as he danced Laura's choreography exactly as she'd created it. We practiced together every night until the showcase, and slowly Julio stopped looking for Laura in the mirrors and started seeing himself as a dancer. The night of the performance, he danced her routine flawlessly. The audience didn't know the story, but they felt it. The love, the loss, the promise kept. The next Thursday, Julio arrived early to practice with me. Something was different. For the first time since I'd met him, he wasn't wearing his wedding ring on that silver chain. He stopped looking at the corner he used to stand and film, and now he looked at me like he was finally ready to dance with someone new.